Okay, I think we're live almost. Yes. All right. Welcome to Game On, X's and O's for Life's Playbook with Marnie and Katie. And Katie is a trooper. She is doing this with, okay, now we're live. All right. Welcome to Game On, X's and O's for Life's Playbook with Marnie and Katie. And Katie is a real trooper because Katie is doing this from her hotel room and she's using her phone and the technology is not cooperating. So, that being said, we're going to see how we do. And, that's what life is about. Like,
That's right.
That's what I like, right? We're your cheerleaders. You're giving your X's and O's for Life's Playbook. I'm just rolling with it. And we talked about this. The most flexible people, I think, are always the most successful people. So you've got a great attitude. You're totally not like, let's just not do it. Let's quit, whatever. You're like, let's stick to it. So thank you, Katie, for doing that.
Well, I think it's taken us, 25 minutes to figure out the tech because I'm using my phone and not my computer. And, when you go on vacation, you kind of don't want to always have to bring all the technology. And so the beauty is having the phone with you. But now I'm actually literally looking in the back side of my phone. I have no idea what I look like, no idea what you look like. I'm looking at the three little,
I look great.
I just like, whatever, right? But we're making it happen in 2024. Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And you look beautiful, by the way, inside beauty and outside beauty. So
always.
Yes, thank you. You are, we had a saying when we were in college, we're always bikini ready because it's
always.
like mentally be bikini ready, like physically too, but like be bikini ready because like you're ready for anything. You know how to show up on life's playing field, all of it.
Yes. I love that. I used to be a fitness coach. I was Fit Chef Katie, and I'd always say, even now as a dating coach, be bikini ready, like stay fit, stay healthy. And if he says, let's go to Australia in the middle of winter here, you're going to want to say yes. So yes, right. I love it.
And the thing is about being bikini ready, and actually I wrote a couple stories on this, is that like it's an emotional state. Sure, you want to physically be bikini ready, but you also want to be emotionally bikini ready. And
right.
I think that's something that I know we strive to do. All right, so you would ask me a couple questions right as we were getting ready to go on about the football game.
Right. So we're talking, our first quarter is always about health and wellness, fitness, which by the way, speaking of bikini ready, I just want to bring this up. I am doing dry January. So I have my healthy kombucha alternative. And I just want to report on it because I was hoping to do the whole 32, but it's too much. I can't do all of that in 1 month.
So, okay.
And, but I want you all to keep me accountable because it is hard. I mean, I ate some Italian leftovers and I'm like, oh, a little cup of wine would be good with this. And I'm like, nope. It's amazing how just quickly I can roll to like, oh, a beer with some tacos. Like, nope, it's okay. Iced tea. So,
right.
But yes. So, okay. So speaking of, we're talking about sports and fitness and all that. I finally went to my first Cowboys game. And so that was a big deal because I've been dating a Dallas guy for 5 years. And at the very end, if anybody watched that Cowboys games and they played Detroit, the very end got a little shady. Do you know any of those calls, Marnie?
Well, I know that. So here's what I believe I know from NFL rules, that before the game, that the referees go and they sit down and they have a conversation set privately with each of the head coaches. And they do that so that if there are any, and they say, here, we might do this play, we might do that, just to give them a heads up. Because the thing is, like, you can't let, if you're doing like a trick play, you can't let the other team know that you're doing a trick play by going to the ref and be like, hey, it's going to be this, and this big lineman's going to now catch the ball, because then the defense suddenly knows what your plan is. So you have to really be, so the coaches meet with the referees and they do this whole thing. So last week, what happened was that either the refs didn't see the guy, didn't know that he reported in that he was going to be the one catching the ball, didn't, whatever it was all very, it's unfortunately, it's like, it stinks for the Lions. It's good for the Cowboys, but you know what? At the end of the day, as a fan, it's like, you just want to have a clean game. And sometimes things are moving so fast that it's almost impossible to notice everything. And that's the job of the ref. But sometimes people don't, they don't get it right. And that's what happens.
Okay, as someone who's not that into football, which, pardon me, but I'm learning and I'm asking these questions. I would think that there's so many refs, there's so many video cameras. Wouldn't they have taken a second to rewind, and said, wait, we're not sure on this call, rather than allowing it to be a wrong call? I mean, what's the percentage of wrong calls in these games? It was
Well,
very interesting to me.
yeah, and in the last 2 minutes, you can't go back and you can't go back and and look at the tape. So it's like, and they do that,
Mm,
which is a good thing actually, because, the momentum of the game and certain things happen.
right.
But like, so you can't go back. So there are rules to protect the team if like,
Oh,
but however, sometimes in this situation, it was not a good, and it'll be interesting, I want to actually ask some of my friends who played professional football, like if that's
yeah.
ever happened to them, or like, I mean, there's bad calls all the time. And then they usually tell the referee team that, because they work in teams, that they don't get
Right.
promoted all year long. The referee team, their whole, like, they do a good job trying to make good clean calls, because they want to get playoffs, they want to get Super Bowl, like that's their goal, is to do great all season so they can get the big game at the end of the year. Obviously, this team missed it. It was terrible. If you're a Lions fan, they really
It was a
could not.
bummer.
Just being a football fan, it does stink, because you try to keep the integrity of the game as good as you.
Right. Yeah, it was quite a few mishaps in that game, which I was learning about throughout the process. And it is interesting to hear that these refs do get penalized as their team group of in their job. So wow, and this is good stuff. That's not the typical common knowledge of anyone who's just casually watches football, right? I'm like, okay, grab a ball, throw a ball, catch it, couple goals, points around here. So that was great. But Marnie, I got to share with you, I made the jumbotron, and that was a big deal, right?
Yes,
But I
that's a
have to
huge deal.
say, what was
Yes,
that?
Mary's World. Yes, I mean anywhere, but yes, absolutely. All right,
But
so
I
tell me
and,
about.
and in my house, I already have two kids that made the jumbotron. My third kid did it, and I haven't. So now we're all equal because my youngest was with me. And I have to be honest, I have a girlfriend who said, "Hey, I know the girl who runs the jumbotron. Do you want to be on it?" So
Okay, that makes sense. That's
I
good.
mean, I'm only 3 months into Dallas, and somehow I met someone who knew the jumbotron girl. So here was the deal. I was like ready. My son and I were watching the jumbotron, ready for all those moments when they're just highlighting people. And then my husband's business partner's wife came and sat next to me. And so out of politeness, I'm chatting with her, looking this way, jumbotron over here. And my son hits me and he goes, "We're on the jumbotron." And I gotta say, I failed. I failed the jumbotron. They're never gonna pick me again. I had a cup. I watered my hand. I didn't know what to do with it. Do I look at me? Do I look at the camera? I don't know where the camera is. I overthought everything. But my son showed up. He jumps up and he's like, ah! And I'm like, and of course, the woman next to me is smiling because I'm the one reporting to her, "We're on the jumbotron," but I'm the one confused as to what to do. So a little bit bummed. I mean, you
Yeah,
got to be jumbotron ready.
you do. Yes, it's pretty crazy. It happened to me one time at a Phillies game, and I didn't even I saw it, and then I had a bunch of friends that saw me there, and they were like, "Oh my god, we see you on the jumbotron," and texted me. I didn't get a picture of it, but I was like, "All right, that's cool." I mean, it's a cool thing. It's
Yeah,
neat. I'm sure
it's a moment.
yeah, but I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't do anything too exciting to make me get back on quickly.
we
But yeah,
we gotta be ready for the jumbotron next time. I was wearing a sparkly shirt, and another girl had the same shirt on. So at least I
yeah,
found a twin sister. Yeah.
right. Well,
Um,
that's like being bikini ready. You got to be jumbotron ready.
yes, bikini ready. I love that. Well, let's
Yep.
talk about speaking of being ready. Let's talk about second quarter. Okay, so I am planning all our summer vacations. I absolutely hate doing this. I've done it for the last couple summers. We did 6 weeks in Europe. You get tired and overwhelmed of all the choices in these restaurants and looking at Instagram and looking. It's almost too much nowadays. Like there's too much information, you can't make decisions. So I started using Chat GTP, and I have never done, I mean, maybe I'm a little late to the Chat GTP game. Have you tried it, Marnie?
I have not fallen down the rabbit hole, mostly because I'm afraid as a writer, I don't want
Right.
to do it, because I'm like, well, if I never do it, I mean,
It's
then,
not authentic, right?
right. And so, like, I'm just worried, like, whatever the chances are, whatever they put together, if I'm like, hey, write me a page about, what's cool about being in Houston, or if you're a young girl, then they'll do that and it'll probably be great. And I'll be like, I don't want to. So I haven't used it, but I know people. I have kids. I know they like it a lot.
Well, and I know it's a job stealer, let's be honest. But I was speaking to a teacher friend the other day, and she's using it because she's a science teacher. And she says, my principal's upset with me and they're making me teach an English class right now. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. She says, I have 110 papers I need to grade. I put the rubric into GTP. I scan what the kids write and it does it for me. Crazy is that? But at the same time, that's fair because she's not an English teacher. That's not her job to correct grammar. She's a science teacher. So it's crazy the things that you can do with ChatGTP. And this is why I'm loving it though. So I did romantic vacation in Savannah. My husband and I are going to Charleston and Savannah. And look, I don't want to again be overwhelmed. Man, does it outline everything? And for a little bit more, it'll give you all the links, a little bit more money, gives you all the links to everything. It's fantastic. And you just keep chatting with it but my wife has high expectations. Well, if your wife has high expectations, you should know her better. Of course, it's what it says first. But then it
That's
really gets specific and it's actually pretty spectacular. So there's a lot of great stuff with ChatGTP.
now. Okay, so now, do you think with your friend who's the teacher, when she puts the essays in, do you think it can also that's also a way for it to determine if kids were using it to write their papers?
Yeah, I mean, I would think nowadays you can even tell Chat GTP, write it a little lazy, write it with some
Yeah,
incorrect. I mean, you can really direct it. Because I've seen that even in Canva when you're creating designs and books and things in Canva, you can choose the style of AI right there. I'm not sure. And is it ethical? Is it not? Is this the way we're going? It's a little scary. I'd be so curious what people have to say about it. Is there a right usage? Is there a wrong usage? I mean, I will say sometimes to hype up the bios that we write for our clients, we use it a little bit, and it's got better vocabulary, which we learned a couple words last week. So it's one of those I don't know, wins
I
and
know.
losses. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I do like it, and then I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. Then it like, what if people use it and it's inauthentic, and then they're not that like, you know, the state motto of North Carolina and the motto of the school that I went to is Latin, and it's Esse quam videri, and the translation is to be rather than to seem. And I really like that because I like to be authentic, not be somebody who's phony or do whatever it
Right.
is. So Chat GPT definitely is great, and it does bring a lot of ease into
Yeah.
uh, people's lives, and for sure can do some really cool things. But on the other hand, I'm like, oh, I do like the authenticness of it, and I do like the idea of sometimes like just spending some time just doing research is actually a good thing.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, here's my one thought. I was thinking about this today. The one major benefit I think Chat GTP should be doing is that in the medical world, instead of having to go to your doctor first to get a referral to go to another doctor, Chat
Right?
GTP can figure that out for you. Like cut
Yeah.
the referrals, cut the amount of time we have to go see a doctor to see a doctor. I just hate having to go see a doctor to get a referral. It's like
No,
if my
I
arm hurts
agree.
me,
Yeah.
I know my arm hurts me. I don't need to see you for you to tell me what it's just there should be ways that it is benefiting us, but we're gonna have to leave that to the experts. We'll leave it to Elon to figure that out for the world.
I'm not that smart, so
Yeah.
no, I can't do that.
Well,
Definitely.
let's move into third quarter right now, which is where we talk about relationships because this is a very. I mean, today's what, the 4th January. I don't even know anymore, but
Yeah, that's the fourth.
in 2 days is the biggest day of the year where people do online dating, swiping.
Why is that?
January 6th, or I guess Sunday, which I think is January 7th. So the first Sunday of the year, they say they report. Of course, they might be doing that to hype up, people
Right,
getting on the dating apps.
whoever they
Right.
is in
Yeah.
regard, yeah, who owns the dating sites, yeah.
Right. So they say it's, the busiest day of the year. I mean, and I would actually say Saturdays and Sundays are busier only because men aren't working. So, men aren't great at multitasking. So they can't leave the weekend for swiping, which is always a little last minute because women want to be, chatting with you. And I always say by Wednesday, you should have your date set up. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, So here's my problem with this. This is a caveat. Instead of getting excited about it, what I get nervous about is that you're getting a bunch more, and I always say out of 100% of people dating, 80% are junk. I'm afraid there's more 80 percenters jumping on because they're really not consistent anyway. So they're just jumping on because it's a busy day. It's a new year, new me. I'm going to find someone. I mean, I even saw recently one of the most famous matchmakers. She's still single. She's in her 60s. And she wrote about how terrible her last year was. But this is what she wrote. She said, I'm going to say to myself 500 times a day, I'm going to find love. I'm going to find love. And I'm like, you could say that 1,000 times a day. That's not what's going to get you to find love.
So, I mean, the person, it's amazing. It's like people that, I just, you can kind of like, when it's frustrating because, like, when you meet people and they're like, oh, don't you, set me up with somebody or this or that. And I'm not a matchmaker. I just know a lot of people. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not really good at that. You should hire somebody or go online, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there is no way that, no matter how much I like you as a friend, that I would think that you're ready to be going on a date. It's like, there's just no way, because no, there's just no way.
Well, you see the 80% in them. And I always claim it like this, like the 80 percenters are the opposite of the 20 percenters. So the 20 percenters, which are the quality people, have three things in common. They're cool. They're just very unique people. They've done a lot in life. They're interesting. And of course, everybody wants to date that person.
Right.
But there's a lot of boring people who want to date that person. No, and you deserve your equal. You're also quality. So you have a set of core values. You know them. You're not wavering in them. You know what you believe and why you believe it. And then the third thing is the 20 percenters are ready for something real and long lasting. And there's a lot of people who want to date for fun or just because they're bored. My last podcast was 5 reasons why you shouldn't be dating in 2024. And that's loneliness, or, I have to get under somebody to get over. No, I have to get over somebody to get, no, I have to get under somebody to get over somebody. It's like, what a terrible ideology.
Yeah, that's not good. No, I mean, it's like replacing one bad habit with another one.
Correct.
Right?
Right. And I've been on a date where guys like, I used to be a drinker, but I'm sober now, but I just smoke pot every day.
Okay.
Okay, great. You're still, you still have some tendencies there, buddy. So I just want to encourage people who are
I
out
probably
online
do
dating.
both. I just don't want to tell you.
Yes. Anyone who is online dating, don't think it's going to be better. I really want to encourage this year to be the year of IRL, which is in real life. Meet somebody in real life. Start to grow as a person. Talk to more people. Try new things. So my goal with my followers on Dating with Katie is that we will all start to go do things in the real world and really talk.
A great idea.
And like I have a pickup line. It's what brings you out today. There you go.
Yeah.
It kind of works. Like, you're at Starbucks. What drink do you drink? What drink are you drinking today? You're at Chipotle, burrito or bowl. Which one should I get? Just talk to people.
I think, you know what it is, and we've talked about this before, Katie, but it's like just having simple manners and just being mannerly, being friendly, being mannerly, saying thank you, and all of those things that seem so normal, but that it's really a kind of a lost art. And definitely, communicating or following up with somebody or doing something, or how about this, doing something for somebody without any agenda. Like, I always find that every time I just randomly do something without even, as a thoughtful person, just because I like to do things, it always ends up benefiting me in some strange way. In a circuitous path, there's the word circuitous.
That word.
It ends up benefiting me. So I think that, like, I love your idea of just like doing things IRL or whatever. Is it what IRL? Is that but also just doing more things for other people without any expectations that it's going to be about you. It's like, I'm just going to go do this and then I'll feel good about myself just because I've done something thoughtful, or I just want to. And then you never know what happens.
Love it. And speaking of New Year's, if you're out there dating and single, I gave you a couple tips right there. How about you, Marty? What did you decide? We talked about not resolutions last week, but resolutions.
Resolve.
Yeah. What do you resolve to do this year?
Well, again, I mean, it's always, there's always a couple things that are pretty standard. Like, I was just actually looking back on my list from 2017, and most of them I've been able to, I believe, do, which is, I resolved to be clearly to be, incredibly philanthropic and to do as much as I can, in the philanthropy world. And then again, be a great mom, be an involved person, keep my business going, writing more books. Those are things, and staying away from things that are unhealthy, people, places,
Yeah.
vices, whatever. I'm thankful that I've got a pretty strong constitution. So things that are unhealthy, I typically stay away from. Although I do
Cheers to that.
I do like I like sweets and I'll have them, but again, everything in moderation I think is okay. I just think it's okay. That's it.
Well, I just had a client and he had some surgery and then he was driving and he got sideswiped at 70 miles an hour. And so he was already recovering from his first surgery, let alone to get sideswiped at 70 miles an hour. And he said, Katie, somebody was watching out for me. I'm so lucky to basically be alive and let
Yeah.
alone have kind of no second injuries from that sideswipe. And he says to me, he says, Katie, I decided for this entire month, I will not complain once.
Yep.
I don't care how much pain I'm in. I don't care how long a doctor's appointment takes. I will not complain because I could be dead. And, I just thought, what? And I said to him, I said, gosh, that would be hard for me only because I work in the dating world and those people drive me nuts.
Is there a lot
that would be a hard one for me. But I thought, what a great perspective. What a good reminder of how lucky he was. But we don't want to have those, side swipes at 70 miles an hour to be reminded of that, to really go through life without complaining. And I'm a little bit, I'll always tell people I'm not a complainer. I just always have good suggestions. So,
well,
but I am still complaining in a sense, and again, we have this thing too in matchmaking. Instead of giving our opinion, we should always say, hey, would you like our opinion? Right?
Yeah. Well, and also I just read this article about parenting and it was like, instead of asking your kids, like, what are they gonna, how, like, are they doing this or have they done that? Ask them what their plans are to do it. Like, what are your plans to clean up the room? Like you said you were going to do. And this way they are, talking about it
Accountable.
like a business person. Like, well, my
Yes.
plan is I'm going to go to my friend's house and then I'm going to come home and then I'm going to have a snack and then I'm going to do it. Because then it
Yes.
really doesn't go for success versus being like, why haven't you? When will you? Why
Yeah.
did you? It's like, what are your plans for doing that?
That's great. It's just better, clear communication. I mean, when my kids were very little, I never did the 3, 2, 1 countdown because first off, I believe in first time obedience because your boss isn't going to give you till 3, 2, 1, right? Your boss isn't going to be like 3, hurry up. 2, your boss is like, it needs to be done.
Yeah,
So
yesterday.
I used to tell my kids first time obedience. I use that word all the time because they need to understand authority. And then I used to say to my kids, we had this response that they had to give me when they were very little, and they would say it. We would make a game of it, and then we would practice it, and they would apply it. And it was yes, mom, which means they heard me right away, which means they take ownership of that moment. I
Right.
will obey, which also redefines like yes, this person is an authority over me, and I do need to obey them. So my kids to this day they're like yes, mom, right away, I will obey. And they laugh, but
Good.
I know my kids will use that with their kids because it's just if every parent did that, it'd be so much easier on teachers.
Well, it's interesting. I had read this article also about like disciplining kids or disciplining adults or whatever. And like this woman that wrote the article said that when her kids do something where they get in trouble, when they're older, like, early teens or whatever it is, even like starting around 12 or 13, the punishment was never immediate. She would say something like, I'm very frustrated and I'm very disappointed in you, but I'm not going to, and I don't know what the punishment is going to be, but it will happen within the next 2 weeks. And like the whole idea is that like in the real world, when you do something illegal or something wrong, the punishment doesn't happen immediately. Like the worst part is like waiting to figure out what your punishment is going to be. And then that, like, I think reminds you of like, I don't want to do that again, because that feeling of like, wait
Yeah.
to get my punishment was so much worse than the punishment often, so I feel like that's something that, I didn't necessarily practice that a whole lot, but I always liked the idea of it. Like, I think in the real world it works. It's like if somebody disappoints you, you don't have to necessarily cut them off or do whatever. Just be like, I'm disappointed. I need a week or two and then I'll figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah,
and that week or two gives them the opportunity to really, think about what they've done wrong or whatever. And it gives you a chance to actually be like, okay, do I care that much? Does it matter? Do I really care? Like, I don't care. I do care. And like, here's how I'm going to handle it.
that's a great one. I really like that. Or even asking the kids, so what do you think is a fair and right punishment?
Oh yeah,
And
that's another one. That is,
you know, and I actually think the kids are like, it makes them think.
yeah,
And I probably got my other kids involved too, like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, we need to teach our kids how to parent. We also need to teach them how to be in relationships. We need to teach these things, and maybe not when they're really young,
yep,
but if they have an older brother or sister, hey, look, I was a single mom, so I had nobody to bounce it off with. Hey, I asked my older son, hey, look, am I being too hard on Olivia? Do you think, and he and I would have a reasonable discussion about it. Not that he needs to parent, but it's like, what do you think? You're her age.
yep.
What do you think of this? Like, if your kids are 16, they can definitely have an adult conversation about misbehavior and things like that. So, I mean, I think this is a great, I mean, we just kind of hit a couple things on that fourth quarter. I think we just got a touchdown. Those are some great ideas for parenting on like our New Year's. I think those are all great.
Yes, I think so too. All right, so I'm going to let you off the hook because uh, you're talking
I
into the
still don't
back of
know.
your phone. Like you look great. You're
I'm
beautiful.
worried
I
about my
miss
hair.
you. No, your hair looks good. I promise
Like in
you.
front
Yeah,
of the ear or behind the ear. I don't know.
I never know. I mean, I do half and half behind, half in front.
Oh, okay. This
But
way.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Yeah. But so like, yes. And because, the girl code is like, if you don't look good, then I don't look good. So if you didn't like how you look, then I would be like, we're just burying this episode. No one will ever see it. And we'll do it next week. And yeah, but why don't you do this? Can you please tell everybody how to follow us and find us?
Yeah, so the biggest one is you're going to want to get to Instagram. We're going to be posting about a couple of these different things, and that's at Game On XOTV. We also have an email, gameonxotv@gmail.com. Send us an email, tell us your thoughts about what we talked about or something we should bring up. We always love to hear it.
That is right, because we are giving you your X's and O's. We're your cheerleaders for
Right.
life's playbook. So, Katie, thank you. I enjoy your time wherever you are, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. And yeah, after you'll have some data,
Yeah.
whatever it is, on the January 6th,
Yeah.
internet craze or
Right. Let's
whatever
see.
that is. Exactly. Yes.
Stuff. All right. Until next week, you guys have a good one.